Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It's Thursday, January 30th, 2025. Do you know that they're already claiming there's almost an entire month over in the year 2025? A real year that exists. So what a real hiring that exists in the year 2025 is Darrell Bevell back in the game. I said, not to name drop, I went on Kevin Clark's podcast, ever heard of him, on Wednesday, and we were ranking the coaching hires. And I said the story of Pete Carroll in Vegas is going to be his assistants because, you know, they're not getting the quarterback. Like, this guy has not hired a great assistant since probably Dan Quinn, if you go back through his offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. And his first shot across the bow is hiring Darrell Bevell. Yeah, so we'll see. Well, Darrell Bevell is in Vegas. Matthew Stafford, maybe not in L.A., question mark. Just going to evaluate if this is kind of heading towards a divorce. It's a little hard to tell. I feel like they actually are like kind of like feeling each other's positions out through the media. Like, they can't decide. Like, either side can't really decide what they want to do. So we'll talk about Stafford's future in LA. We'll talk about the Bengals basically. Yeah, like T's gone. Yeah.
He's gone.
We'll try to sign him. I mean, yeah, try to sign him. But I was like, why is Duke Tobin using air quotes constantly? That's kind of weird. We'll talk about that. Then we have two articles. A way too early 2025 mock draft. Emphasis on way too early, especially since I banned rookies. By the 8th or 9th round, I was kind of, no one's drafting next year.
Yeah, you're just looking at the draft board going, I don't know.
Yeah, no one's drafting this guy for real in September. But we'll talk about how our way too early mock draft went. We'll talk about Denny's article on fourth down aggressiveness amongst the league's 32 coaches. Maybe some surprising names, maybe some super obvious names.
Yes.
But first, I just thought, what is today? We're 10 days away from Licks, Super Bowl Licks 59. And, you know, Denny, I'm just checking, how's your Mahomes Derangement Syndrome going? How are you feeling heading into the game 10 days from now?
I would describe it as acute. It's peaking right now. I'm thinking it'll officially peak when we get to the Super Bowl and I see his face.
So hold on, are you telling me I'm getting the same vibe? Please don't tell me you were one of the people who rooted for the Utah Jazz in 97 and 98. Do not tell me that.
Wow.
Do not tell me that.
You got me. Oh
my God. No one. Denny, you don't like greatness. What's so wrong with greatness?
You absolutely nailed me there. I was the biggest Jazz fan outside of the state of Utah during those runs. I was the biggest Sonics fan when they played the Bulls.
Awful.
Yeah, awful. Horrible. I get it. I'm embarrassed, but
you actually should be embarrassed.
I there's something about it. I cannot root for the dominating team.
Did you root for Tiger?
Yes.
That was very, very clipped, and like I feel like you had an advisor whisper into your ear. Yeah, sir, you're aware you're under oath. Like, define root for Tiger.
Yeah, no. It's an individual sport. That's different to me. I always wanted someone to step up and challenge him, which literally never happened.
So you didn't root for him then?
And when Sergio Garcia came on the scene, when David Duval was doing his thing, I was like, oh yeah, we have some competition, and they would immediately crumble the second they got into the heat of battle with Tiger. So I guess there was no point in it. Yeah, but I was a Tiger guy, of course.
Thinking Sergio might challenge Tiger as the ultimate fell for it again award.
You don't understand though. When he was 19 and he came on court,
I remember.
And he's literally running around the course, jumping around, throwing his clubs. I mean, that was fun. That was actually fun.
And then Tiger drove a bulldozer over him.
Yeah. Oh man.
Tiger. That is true. So I got asked the question for this NBC News roundtable. Are the Chiefs making football boring right now? And I said, quite on the contrary, because we have, again, you need this center of gravity where you need the villain, quote unquote. But the Chiefs are even better than the Patriots were in this role, because unlike the Patriots, there actually are some people rooting for the Chiefs. And Mahomes does rise to the level of front-running greatness. Tom Brady, for a variety of reasons, never got the same treatment. Some of those have to do with deflating footballs. Don't sue me. But people do. With the Chiefs, I feel like we're having our cake and eating it too, where there is the villain. A lot of people are just tired. I don't care. Anyone else win. I don't care. The Titans can win. I don't care. And then the second the Titans win, they would regret rooting for them. But where people, you have the villain you can root against, but then you also have the greatness you can root for. Even when I root for the underdog, I at least like when the underdog loses, if the overdog is accomplishing something historic. So I think the Chiefs have that.
Yeah.
Like even if you're not rooting for the Chiefs, like all right, it's kind of cool. Someone.
Yeah, no, I
think wait a minute. Like think about the Stafford Joe Burrow Super Bowl. Like truly one of them. I know one of the most forgettable sort of cultural experiences of watching football. Like I honestly don't care which one of these guys wins. Neither of them are even the best quarterback in their own conference. Like, come on. Like, can we please see
in their own division?
Either. Can we see Allen? Can we see Lamar? Does it have to be Stafford?
Wait, the what Super Bowl? What are you talking
The
about?
Bengals Rams one. It was a good game, but
Denny didn't even watch it clearly.
Yeah.
So.
I thought you said Flacco somehow, but no. Okay, but you're saying
Stafford Burrow.
Stafford Burrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait. You're telling me that Burrow, who at the time was like an emerging threat to Mahomes.
Yeah, look how that panned out.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, a lot of people were worried about that.
That was not exciting. I mean, Stafford hasn't been exciting since 2010. Like that.
The Burrow thing was the Burrow storyline was interesting. In that it's like, wow, young phenom superstar, kind of like Jayden Daniels this year, when kind of like Mahomes in 2018. I actually did think that was interesting.
I have to say, and I'll never forget the advice, the personnel, the roster management advice I got from an Uber driver in LA, which was the following, because he asked me what I do for a living. I told him NBC Sports. I'm at the Super Bowl. He said, he said he's from Louisiana. He said the Saints, they need to trade for Burrow.
He was right. I'll give him.
I accidentally had some spittle somehow.
they need to simply acquire Joe Burrow from the Bengals.
That would be pretty huge.
And I said, that's actually a good thought. You should tell them.
Even Mickey Loomis would like, well, I'll look into that.
I remember telling Pat this after I got out of the Uber. We were at a restaurant, and Pat was like, "There's actually not a price at the time, or even now. There's not a price. I mean, they could say 12 first rounders, and it still would not be enough.
It would not have mattered. Yeah, that's a good point by me. 3 years ago. That was really good then. That was really, really good. Darrell Bevell was good in 2012 or 13 or whatever. They went to a Super Bowl, won another Super Bowl. But he's 55. He hasn't coached anyone, he hasn't coordinated an offense since 2021. He's the passing game coordinator.
What was that? What was the story there? Did anything interesting happen?
I don't even remember. I actually don't know. It was a Jaguars.
It was Jaguars, the worst year of the Jaguars franchise.
Just assume it's bad. Yeah. It was the Jags. He's been working for Mike McDaniel since 2022. I mean, Denny, do you have any data on Darrell Bevell? It's been 8 years since he was the Seahawks guy. Yeah. It's like, what does this hire mean? What kind of hire is it?
I mean, he was always, and of course it could be the whole Pete Carroll thing, but he was always very run heavy. If you look back at 2021, they were the third run heaviest team in the league by pretty much any metric. Super run heavy on first downs. Not very aggressive, very slow offense. So you kind of know what you're getting. In Jacksonville in 2021, I had the number here, and they were 27th in pace of play.
Do you know that he was also the head coach for 9 games that year? Apparently,
I tend to remember that. But
interim head coach, was that the Urban year?
Urban Meyer year? Yeah, that
was he was a 9 game. He must be an interim head coach twice at some point.
I believe interimed in Detroit.
He did. Detroit. Okay, I was like, because Urban was only fired for like 2 or 3 games,
so he got to split 2. He's got 2 tenures as an interim guy across the 2 franchises.
He was 2-7 as an interim coach. So
there are probably worse numbers.
I will say, he does have. You have to look way back. The Zoomers literally won't remember, but the 2015 Seahawks. 2015, I know. First in, if I'm looking at this correctly, first in total yards.
They don't have the data going back that far.
The
Seahawks were never first in total yardage, I don't think either.
Oh, maybe I'm not looking at that correctly, but so the Seahawks offense in 2013 to 2015 was efficient but run heavy. Yeah,
that's looking really quick here. The yards, nope, they were 4th. They had 6,000 total yards that year. The Cardinals, the Bruce Arians Cardinals, 6,500 yards, led the 2015 NFL. Man, then the Steelers were 3rd. Man, Tom looks like, what do I got to do to get back on that train?
Yeah.
So Bevell, I really do think it's like Pete flunking a test where I know you need some of your guys, but bring him in as like, the passing game coordinator or like a position coach. Or the secret to get to the top of the AFC West, first off, is not going to be a quarterback. Even if they get the quarterback, though, that's the problem. It's not going to be a quarterback. They're not even going to get that quarterback this year, I don't think. It was going to be all about like offensive innovation and like just zigging where others are zagging. And he's going back to the exact same playbook.
It's not good. It's not good. Let's just be real about it. Like, like we said, Pete Carroll just by sheer will, by his reputation, can get this team to 6 or 7 wins. Sure, whatever.
I would say 8 or 9, but
8.
I mean, I'm slamming the under on 9. Like there.
9.
That's right. He'll go 8 and 9. That's fine. Yeah, that's fair.
But. Then so this is not an inspiring move, and you're right, Pat. That's a good point. Like they're going to have to be creative. They're going to have to do some weird things to get by offensively because they're not going to get their long-term quarterback, right? But most likely anyway.
Well, okay, yeah, they might get their long-term quarterback. I was saying so they probably won't. But then B, even if they do, that's not the key to the mountaintop in the AFC West because you're not going to have a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. You might not even have a better quarterback than Bo Nix. So like you got to have a different secret sauce to like make an impact in this division. And Pete, unlike Belichick, Pete actually did go outside his coaching tree fairly often near the end in Seattle. So I was a little surprised to see him like retreat to Darrell Bevell's safety. But, that's what we're doing here. So we'll see.
Apparently,
his last good coordinator was seriously Dan Quinn. It's kind of insane. If you like go to the Seahawks OC and DC history, it was very, very uninspiring. His final 10 years in Seattle. Speaking of 10 years, it feels like Matthew Stafford's been in LA that long. Yeah, but I think it's been like 4. What do you guys think? Is this actually in motion? I really feel like both sides are kind of like, I don't know, man. Like they're being like for real about it. Do we think the Rams Stafford era is over?
No, not by a long shot.
Yeah, I would say
for this year. For this year specifically, could it be over next year? Absolutely. I think maybe that's like the line you set. Does he play more than 1 year with this team? And I'd be fine saying he probably doesn't. But the thing is, if they get rid of Stafford, they are in such.
He might retire too. They might not even get rid of him.
I think he's already said he's got. I think the exact phrase was like he's got a lot more football left in him. Like I'm not to say
report Stafford plans to play. All right, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm pretty.
You could imagine if he didn't though.
You could imagine if he didn't, yeah. And it would be like the thing is, imagine they cut Stafford. They have he literally has $4 million guaranteed money over the next 2 seasons. Like expensive punt gunner money tied up in guarantees. He has a cap hit of roughly 50 million and then
172 million probably.
No, it's 49 and change and 53 and change over the next 2 seasons, but with no guarantees. And the report we had is that he likely needs a new contract to keep playing with the Rams, which when you're making $4 million guaranteed over 2 years, it's $4 million this year, none the next year. Understandably, you would want to have some more guarantees. I would imagine they basically extend or restructure his contract, probably add a ton of void years in and give him the guarantees he wants. But ultimately, it doesn't tie him to playing football for longer than a year. This offseason, though, imagine if they cut him, which financially they could do if they wanted to. Imagine if they cut him. Like, he is the most coveted free agent by a country mile. And that does not speak to Stafford. Like, who are you taking, Stafford or Sam Darnold? Like,
he's this year's Kirk Cousins if he's a free agent. Or like people will they'll do it because there's upside, but pretty serious downside. I'm actually not as sold they're going to keep him. Like he moved on. He was extremely ruthless the way he moved on from Jared Goff. It seems like he's losing a little more faith with each passing year in Stafford too. Sean McVay, where it seems like he has the Belichick memo. Like McVay has always been really ruthless about moving on. Even people he like was like super aggressive about acquiring like Brandon Cooks or Sammy Watkins. Like the second he thinks is not a good idea, he just moves on. So I'd put it more at like 62-38. He's back and not you were talking.
I'm 80-20. I'd say I'm at 80-20 plus. I think this year is a tremendously bad year to try and move on from quarterback. If they really had other viable options, maybe they view Sam Darnold as a viable option.
Darnold might, then you're back in the Goff. But
exactly. I mean, he's like, I think Darnold working within the system, as we just saw, can be successful, albeit with a ceiling, almost certainly. Stafford has succeeded that ceiling. I was just talking about how much like I didn't care about that Super Bowl. He literally did win a Super Bowl. Like you have to give him a lot of credit for really reaching the heights that we have not seen other quote system quarterbacks. Doesn't really fit the bill of system quarterback, but he does play in the classic system quarterback system.
He is in a system.
He's in a system. It's very clear he's in a system. He's not a system quarterback, but we've seen the system guys cannot exceed the heights of the system. He is not a system guy and has exceeded those heights to the tune of a Super Bowl. There is not really another option this year. I do think the clock is winding down pretty quickly. It's just a bad year for them to try and make changes. For McVay, who literally threatens to retire every year, like he's not going to want a single year of rebuilding. He's going to want to jump right into the next Super Bowl contender.
But I think he has enough faith in his abilities. Like, yeah, whatever, we'll move on. I'll figure it out. And he's decidedly not a system quarterback. I just kind of getting the feeling McVay wants someone who actually will play more within the system. Not that he's like really far outside of it or anything, but 36 or 7-year-old Matthew Stafford freelancing quote hits different than when he was 26 or 27 because when he gets hit differently.
Yes.
Now he like punctures a lung every single time he takes a hit. He literally ran one time in the playoffs and was like doubled over in pain.
You're hinting that Matthew Stafford is a system quarterback, yet he has made no look throws.
Right.
And
It's true.
you guys seem to forget about that. If Mahomes had done it. Anyway, the Rams were 23rd in pass rate over expected this past season, alongside the Giants and Saints and Jaguars. So, there was an effort, I think, to try to move away from Stafford as the center of the offense. Of course, the Puka injury and the Cooper Kupp injury probably factored in there. But it's been a while. It's been since the Super Bowl year, really, since the Rams have really leaned hard on the pass.
Down the stretch, they kind of famously did not.
The amount of times I had to blurb stupid chronic injuries for Stafford. My God.
Yeah. So he'll be back, obviously.
Thank you, Denny.
I'm looking for this real sicko options. Like, what if he convinces himself I can make Kenny Pickett a thing?
Oh,
he is
I can
not
make
doing
Zach
that.
Wilson a thing. Come on,
no, not Zach Wilson, but
I'm Sean McVay, dog. I can do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, the thing is, the reason that, he got rid of Goff was he's like, man, these system guys just aren't cutting it. Like, Goff was the ultimate system executor and isn't giving you, at least with the Rams, anything else. The thing was, he wanted a system executor plus. And I agree, at this point in Stafford's career, 30, like you said, freelancing 37-year-old Stafford definitely hits different. And I think it's nearing time to move on. I really think the smart thing for them to do would be to draft a quarterback. It's not a great class, but I wouldn't mind. It's a pretty bad class, but I wouldn't mind them taking their first round pick on Jackson Dart or whatever, and just letting him develop. You don't like Dart?
No, not him.
Brady Cook.
He's got off. Yeah, Cook. Now we're talking second. Be safe, maybe a second round pick on Brady Cook.
It'll be cheap. He's a good value.
I get him in the third, but
I have one. All right, Jake Browning is under contract.
We it's funny you mentioned him. Darn, that wasn't very good. Actually, I don't have it right now.
Jake Browning's under contract, and but he would absolutely cook in that system. I'm convinced.
I was gonna bust out the McVay to talk about Justin Fields, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was gonna be him clamming up when they mention a name no one would think they want. Oh, McVay won't comment on Justin Fields. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, right.
So then they're trading for Justin Fields the next day would be the joke. You get it?
Oh man, Browning would get it. That's kind of. I mean, obviously, Zach Taylor is a McVay disciple, right? Came there a few years ago.
Zach has done such a hell of a job in the Queen City. I'm not on it. I'm not on it today.
I don't know. I think these are his on. Maybe it's just the wording, but I think these are on it.
We got to go back to the drawing board. The Bengals, speaking of the Queen City, are back to the drawing board receiver.
All right, to be clear, Charlotte's Queen City. Don't want to hear that garbage.
No, they're dueling Queen Cities. And let's see her quote. Let's look at it. Unlike Charlotte, Cincinnati, putting on my glasses, actually has a history. Actually has a culture. Cincinnati is the
classic
Queen
culture city.
It is. If you know where to look. These are old towns steeped in history. The Ohio River. Have you ever heard of it? Google it. Look it up. The Bengals, though, basically admitting that Tee Higgins will no longer live on the Ohio River. That they can't afford him. I don't know. Is there anything to even say?
I mean, this is devastating news to Jamar Chase, who for some reason really wants Tee Higgins to stick around. I mean,
he does.
Really wants him. We talked with them at the Super Bowl last year, and he would not budge off of any question we asked. It went back to, we got to keep Tee Higgins here. We got to keep Tee here. And we wanted to be like, why?
I know.
Why?
You need the ball. Well, he got to have his cake and eat it too this year because they kept T, and Jamar finally got to go target sicko mode. So.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, come on, you guys will be fine. You guys still score a million points.
This is so mean. Like, imagine if Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins were watching the Rotoworld Football Show, and we were like, I don't know if Denny's going to stay for the 2025 season. And Tee Higgins was like, what do you mean? Don't kick him out of the show. Just get rid of him.
How many targets do you guys think Jamar Chase had this year?
155.
177.
175 targets for Jamar Chase. Total domination. They don't need T. I mean, it's been, I don't know how many times it can be proven. Like sometimes you want the guy out there to draw attention. T's out. Like he does better with more attention. Jamar Chase
Come on.
totally bonkers.
I will say the Burrow splits were really improved with Tee Higgins out there. They were still good without T. Like he's fine without Tee Higgins, but he was like his monster stretch came almost immediately once they got Tee Higgins back from his 9th soft tissue injury.
So I think Jermaine Burton seemed really close.
Did you see the quote about him?
We'll see if he even makes the team. He's the new Kendre Miller, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's never a positive quote on him ever.
Never.
Yeah, I mean, for those not grinding news, de facto GM Duke Tobin literally said he did nothing to earn his roster spot next year. I assume that's what you were referencing. No.
Well, I did not see
also,
that,
but also Joe Burrow like making like thinly veiled comments about like this guy's hurting the team, like just his presence being on the roster is hurting the team. I mean, and also staring holes through Burton on the sideline when Burton was a healthy scratch at the last second because he didn't show up to a practice or something, a meeting.
Yep.
I mean, that team is sick of Burton. Like he's going to go somewhere else and he's going to flame out. But it's done. It's over since then.
He's probably never making another regular season appearance. Yeah, 2 hours ago. The exact quote. He's done nothing. So very interesting. I absolutely love to hear that when I'm heading into my second year in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a great
blurb about. You're just logging on to Rotoworld. Just get on Rotoworld today. See
what's the worst I could read.
Yeah, I know.
I've
done nothing.
I think it's not. It's going to be tough, but I do think it's not impossible that T stays. One, because everyone else there wants.
Yeah, it's impossible.
And when Duke Tobin was saying like we got to do what works best financially or whatever, he also used similar language talking about Jamar Chase. He's like, well, I think we need to find a deal we can both agree on. I was like, shut up, Duke Tobin. Like the price of the brick went up, man. Pay Jamar Chase already.
I know he did the Jerry Jones negotiating style with Jamar Chase. Like, well, what if you got more expensive? Yeah, right, fine. Yeah, sure. It's great for me. Did not work for the Bengals. I mean, we can't. Let's not even speculate on where he might go because there's a lot of different places. Listen, man. I don't
Washington. Sorry.
No. Stone cold lock. He was Washington. If Daniel Snyder had not been forced out, like he would be the next commander. Like you wouldn't even. There'd be no point in pretending there's drama about where Tee Higgins is going. It would be Washington. If it were Daniel Snyder, I don't think it'll be Washington this time. It does seem like it'll probably be New England. I'll just say I would not be paying this guy. Like I think whatever's going on with injury prone and him is real, and he can't.
Yeah, no, it's true. Man, I have a take on the Patriots that would make me very unpopular among people. But anyway,
Denny, come on, the people love your take.
Stop. Don't act like you're moving on. Come on.
No. I'm gonna
don't do the charade. Just tell us.
Just do it. Yeah, come on.
All right, fine.
Twist my arm.
They're trying to rebuild the dynasty. They're trying to like just replay the past with this Vrabel hire, which is a terrible hire, by the way.
No, it's a good. Let me stop you there. Let me be clear.
It's not good. They're doing the Bears thing. You know, the Bears had one good season in 1985. They've been trying to repeat that ever since, right? The Patriots had a bunch of good seasons.
The Patriots had 22.
Yeah, they're gonna try to repeat that dynasty by bringing in the guys that were part of that forever and ever, and they're gonna be bad forever. This is horrible. Honestly, for Drake May, this is like career threatening.
Well, the McDaniels hire was horrible. Horrible. Even though he's a good offensive coordinator, they needed to just run back. They needed to run back the Arthur Smith thing. If you think Ryan Tannehill is good on play action and bootlegs, let me show you Drake May. Like run the Titans offense with Drake May. Like Ryan Tannehill is like not even. He's like a 52 percentile athlete for a quarterback. He's slightly above average. Like if you did that with like a 70 to 75 percentile quarterback athlete and Drake May, the system they would like set the EPA record. He would average like 9.5 yards per attempt. Ryan Tannehill, like if they just run that system with Drake May, that I was really surprised that he was trying to do like the Patriots system. Have we
gone full heel turn on Arthur Smith? We're just going full like did nothing wrong. Are we full did nothing wrong?
No. To be clear,
he did everything.
He did everything wrong. Yeah, absolutely everything.
Yeah,
that is why, by the way, he started to do everything wrong. Arthur Smith had success with an average quarterback one time. Like, I can do it. It doesn't matter who's quarterback. And that's why he got addicted to it.
Yes, so Arthur Smith has pretended for years, that quarterback doesn't matter. That it's just a replaceable position, a cog in the machine that can be thrown out and replaced. And obviously that's not the case. But back to the Patriots. The Josh McDaniels hire is catastrophic. It's
awful.
It is honestly, I mean, I feel like that it's the end of the Vrabel era. When he hired him, he ended his own head coaching era. It's now not going to work. And like I said, for Drake May, poor Drake May, this is disastrous for him for career wise.
I kind of think it is too. But by the way, this is a part of the TikTok video where someone does a smash cut to Josh McDaniels holding up the Lombardi next year. Yeah. Just said that, but I think it is. McDaniels is washed. Like he's the most petty tyrant coach there is in the NFL. Like style just does not work anymore. Like every single Raiders expose, like he would show up to a team meeting and punch Max Crosby in the face. Well, I'm not sure about
why did he do that?
I don't think that would have worked in 1952. In 2022.
Well, so all these Belichick disciples think that they can be Belichick, and they can't. Okay, because they don't carry the same like weight and swagger, right? Like, Joe Judge. Joe Judge stormed into the Giants after being the ball boy for the Patriots for a few years, and thought that he could go full Belichick in the Giants, and they were like, "Who are you?" By the way, I have no idea who you are. And he was out in like 15 minutes. So it's just going to keep going like this. The Patriots are lost. They're lost right now. Anyway, back to Tee Higgins injuries. Real quick.
I got Tee Higgins real quick. But I would say Ryan Leaf, issued kind of a death threat to Ben Solak the other day. And that reminded me, one of the only sort of death threats I ever got from a former player was Carl. I don't think it was actually a death threat, but Carl Banks, the Giants legend, was so upset with my Joe Judge write-up. Was like the Giants fan were like, let's get it trending, and they got it trending
trending
to the point where Carl Banks somehow saw it and I don't think it rose to the level of death threat, but it was bad.
I've never seen a reaction like that, and how terribly wrong they were.
Yep.
And I never heard from them after that.
Nope, they never got.
I hope Giants fans are doing well watching Saquon win a Super Bowl single-handedly.
All right. Tee Higgins, Denny.
Tee Higgins, 6 separate injuries over the past 2 seasons. Most of them. So we have quad strain, ankle sprain, hamstring.
The triple crown, baby. They got 2 of them on the team now.
And chest rib fracture. So you can forgive that one. But the soft tissue injuries they're not good. They're not good.
And that's why we didn't draft him in our way too early mock draft, which we're going to talk about when we come back right after this. Wolves look to stay out of the relegation zone this weekend when they host Ollie Watkins and Aston Villa. Catch the matchup at 12:30 p.m. Eastern this Saturday, only on NBC and Peacock. Premier League race is getting really wild. Tottenham, the Hotspur, really want to get relegated. They probably won't, but they were looking very powerfully into getting relegated. We did this mock draft. The only thing I looked powerfully into was drafting Brian Thomas. I accomplished that in the second round, and then I just went on auto after that. The rest of the draft didn't really.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. No, Denny, I don't know. Do you have any opening thoughts on our way too early mock draft? Explain what went down, maybe what some broad takeaways are, and then we'll talk about some individual players.
Yeah, I wrote it up. It is on the internet at rotoworld.com. If you'd like to check it out. I spent a long time writing about Brock Bowers and Trey McBride, each of whom went in the first 15 picks of the draft. Bowers at 12, McBride 3 picks later. I think that is okay. I think that can work.
No, it can't, but that's fine.
It's their numbers were kind of nuts last year.
They were nuts, but
and neither of them got there on weird touchdown production, which is important.
They both frankly got there on bad luck with touchdowns.
They ran real cold. So, and I mentioned this stat in there. Brock Bowers had as many inside the 10 targets last year as Wan'Dale Robinson. So we are looking strongly into maybe more for him next year.
Wait, Denny, I just thought of something so awful. So
all right.
awful.
Yeah, let's hear it.
What was one of the memes Pete Carroll was famous for in Seattle? Is that having like 9 tight ends always?
Not committing to the tight end.
Yes. I don't think that's gonna happen. But
no, this is a too big to fail situation. But I get it. It's like, look, that's not gonna happen. But what if it did?
Noah Fant season. Here we come. So I wrote about the tight ends. I mentioned Brian Thomas. I said that it was not the worst thing that's ever happened to me getting sniped on Brian Thomas, but it's pretty close. I had to settle for Drake London, who I also wrote up as a target dominator with Michael Penix under center. The running backs, I thought were, kind of went where I thought they would. I think, Bucky Irving going 12th overall among running backs is probably not reflective of how he's going to be valued in the summer. I would guess that he'll be well inside the top 10. Maybe
the top 10 overall picks, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, depending on how things shake out with Rashad White and whatever. Irving, crazy efficiency metrics. Those are some opening salvos. If anything else jumped out to you guys during the draft, let me know.
Well, is Bucky going to be a first-round pick, or is he not going to quite ascend to that level?
I don't think he'll get there. I don't think he'll get to a first-round pick because he has to pass the likes of Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, who you and I took at the side of the 1-2 turn, essentially. Drake London, too. He'd have to pass some of those guys. I do think he will creep up to that, top half of the second round, though. He was just so good in so many ways as a rookie. As Denny pointed out, the efficiency metrics were off the charts. Only Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb have averaged over 4 yards after contact per attempt on 200 plus carries in the past 15 years. And then Bucky Irving joins the list as historically efficient. And unlike those guys, he catches passes. He didn't see as much volume in terms of carries as those guys did, but to be in that rarefied air as a rookie, I mean, he's got the makings of a special player. So I do think he'll be top 18 or whatever picks by July.
So let's go through some individual running. These are all running backs he went after. Mind you, we were drafting without ADP. We were drafting without rookies. So it's a little surprisingly difficult. You really have to scroll the F down as the best.
You do. There are lots of scrolling.
You have to scroll. So a lot of these guys will not have ADPs higher than Bucky, I think. So these are back-to-back picks, but Bucky Irving is probably not going behind Breece Hall, correct?
I would guess not.
What do you think, Kyle?
Probably not. I would take him over Breece, I think.
Well, I will say this. So if Breece Hall is talked about as the clear lead back and Tampa is talking about Rashad White and Bucky Irving are still going to split, then I think Hall would go ahead of him. Yeah.
What we're going to hear is we're going to hear the Jahmyr Gibbs role for Breece Hall. That's going to be something that's bandied about.
Well, people take that as good or bad because obviously Jahmyr Gibbs is good, but when you think about if you framed it as we're going to put Braylon Allen in the David Montgomery role, it sounds much worse.
Yeah, to be good in the Jahmyr Gibbs role, you probably need to be Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Breece is really good. I don't think he's as good as Gibbs.
Is he? Is Breece good?
Yeah. He's good. But to your point, though,
what exactly? Based on a PPR scam he ran as a rookie.
The metrics.
Is that about it? He PPR scammed one time. That's kind of what happened here.
He was a super home run hitter in his first year, both on the ground and through the air.
Why didn't he hit the home runs this year?
I was going to say
he should have done that.
He's been hitting fewer and fewer home runs and fewer long catches as the years have gone on. So I still think he's good. I think the version of the Jets we saw last year was terrible, but it's not like the versions that he excelled on were any better. They were worse somehow. So I do think there's an element of his game has just by the numbers has generally gotten worse every year. And that is a little concerning. I still think he's good though, but I share some of your trepidation, which is why I think I would take Bucky over him.
He's definitely good. Rodgers just didn't like him for some reason. Rodgers, great personnel judgment, by the way.
Well, he's not. He wasn't a Rodgers guy, which was the concern, which I dismissed. I said it doesn't matter, and it did. It did matter a lot.
We can go a little quicker on these ones, but Bucky Irving or James Cook. if you guys are on the clock?
Bucky.
Bucky Irving.
I think Bucky for sure. Even though Cook leveled up, I think you have to say Bucky's metrics and Bucky was seizing work. Like James Cook, no matter what, like can't seize work. Like even in the AFC Championship game, he was
James Cook has to compete with Josh Allen for the inside the 5 touches. Like
and Ty Johnson for the routes. Like there's limiting factors to him.
That's
Bucky or Kyron?
Bucky.
I mean, easy Bucky.
Kyron's not good.
easy Bucky. Producer Adam took Jonathan Taylor over Bucky. Taylor or Bucky? This one gets hard.
This is about where the line is. I think
I'd go
Bucky.
But I'm probably going Taylor, to be honest.
I'd actually go Bucky. I'm sorry. I'd go Bucky.
Well, let's go.
I'm going Taylor. Adam got Taylor. For some reason, Josh Jacobs went before Taylor. I can't say I'd agree with that.
I don't know. He scored a bunch of points.
I mean, the Packers love to run.
They do.
Know that.
Final one, Bucky or Mr. CMC?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so like wildly different bets to be making. I think I'm still CMC, but like I might be in for a Fold Again award.
We're in a little bit of like an older running back renaissance.
Yeah.
But at running back, more times than not, you're going to win if you bet on the young guy.
I know.
That's right. And that's why I think I go Irving. I wrote up CMC actually in the mock review, partly because some of his metrics were kind of concerning. And
he just like straight up wasn't very good. He didn't play very much, but there's no, you don't need to sugarcoat it. He was not good when he came back.
Small samples, but it was a big drop off from what we've seen in San Francisco from him. But by the way, one thing on Brian Thomas I wanted to mention.
Well, yeah, we're talking about Brian Thomas.
I'm sorry.
Give your fact first though on Brian Thomas.
Yeah. So Liam Cohen stopped saying Duval for a few minutes and talked about how he was surprised at how good Brian Thomas was from the slot last season as a rookie.
Is that good or bad?
I mean, he also was surprised that Trevor Lawrence was not like, or that he was drafted so highly in the NFL. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Liam Cohen seems like an oddball.
But can I make my Liam Cohen joke? I told Kevin Clark I don't necessarily love when the guy taking my head coaching job is doing it as he's like climbing out the bathroom window. He was basically like escaping the Bucs team. So, hold on a second. Like, is he opening a window? Like, why does it sound like he's fumbling around so much? Right, sorry,
Denny. So Thomas, I looked into it powerfully, and I saw that Puka Nacua and Marvin Mims were the only wide receivers to have better yards per route run rates than Thomas last year. So he actually was very good from the slot, and hey, we want those easy button targets, and I think that we're going to get that. And I think, as I wrote in the mock, that he has every path to being a guy who can be wide receiver 1 overall this year.
I think he does. So do you agree? I got him in the second round, but I don't know. I feel like do you think he'll be a first round pick, Brian Thomas? What do you think, Kyle? Then Denny can weigh in.
I don't think so, but I mean, I think he'll go 13, 14, 15. I think you took him right where he'll be going. It's just hard once you get this high to start passing like already proven superstars, essentially. Yeah. Oh, producer Adam, I want to talk about this. Is surprised. I'm not surprised.
Well, I was going to ask about this exact question: BTJ versus Neighbors, because I took BTJ and then Kyle took Neighbors a few picks later.
And I know we both, obviously, you took that pick because you think he's a better pick than Neighbors, and I would have taken Neighbors in your spot, though those would have been the only 2 players in your spot I would have considered. I do not think you made the quote wrong choice by taking Brian Thomas. I'm just of the opinion that the target domination that Neighbors showed is a bit more stable and predictive than Brian Thomas being a superstar in the efficiency metrics, but also earned a lot of volume down the stretch too.
BTJ really sold me out that he was just the target commander.
Yeah, he became that guy over the second half of the season. It was just that Neighbors did that front to back for the entire year. He set the record for rookies for targets. He set the record for rookie wide receivers for catches, set the record for the past 10 or 15 years in targets per route run for a rookie, expected points for a rookie, everything that we measure how much your team values you and how often they want you to get the ball, and in turn fantasy points, said he was maybe the best rookie of the past 20 years.
Well, yeah, and in terms of expected though, the actual production,
he outscored BTJ on the whole year in points per game. BTJ points per game.
How?
Because Brian Thomas wasn't doing a ton early in the year.
Yeah.
It was that he was 30.
Well, he had more touchdowns. He had more yards. I know Neighbors got him somewhat soundly in the catches department, but
it was like 20 or more catches, or probably like 20.
The reason I go BTJ over Neighbors, several factors. For one, it's better actual production. They both had horrid quarterback situations, especially in the second half of the season. I thought Brian Thomas did a much better job of rising above that. Brian Thomas felt like he was commanding targets, whereas Malik Neighbors kind of just felt like he was Wandale and like getting targets for long stretches. He finally, once he got more healthier towards the end of the year, it seemed like he shifted into like true target commanding, and it wasn't just because he was the best guy around. But I thought that was the difference between BTJ and Neighbors. And two, Neighbors we talked about. It's like every time he catches the ball, he like limps off the field. Brian Thomas got hurt once, played through it for the most part, was dominant playing through it. This felt like showed more toughness, more overall production, more like pure target commanding. Not that Neighbors didn't show toughness. That was not the right way to phrase that. But it was more impressive playing through injury, basically, than Malik Neighbors, where I just thought he was a little bit ahead of Neighbors in like too many key areas for me to take Neighbors over. And plus, too, I know way more about Brian Thomas's quarterback situation. Neighbors is just gonna be some guy, basically. And even once we know who it is, it's probably just gonna be like some unproven rookie.
It's almost certainly going to be Shedeur Cam Ward.
Yeah. I mean, and Shedeur Sanders can funnel short area targets to Neighbors like nobody else. Like I'm in on that. I mean, we like Liam Cohen because he'll make things easier for Trevor Lawrence, and I think consequently he'll make things easier for Brian Thomas. So you give Brian Thomas more of the Malik Neighbors type looks, and I think Thomas can probably do more. I mean,
that's what I said. I'm not entirely sold that more Malik Neighbors type looks is actually good for Brian. I don't know. Maybe give him the Brian Thomas looks. Like let him dominate down the field, the sideline. Or it kind of almost a red flag to me. Liam Cohen's like, why are you mentioning the slot with Brian Thomas? Like,
well, this guy doesn't need the slot. I like it. I don't want him to be like, yeah, he's a boundary guy. We're going to stick him out there and
you can move him around, but I don't want him to talk about like the slot as like a point of emphasis for it. Like, I think that's what's wrong with the modern NFL. Like, no
I'm with that here. Like,
I love it.
Like that's not that he can't win in that fashion, but like he's one of the few players who doesn't need that stuff. Like
there's so much focus on easy button looks in modern NFL. Like, no, you know what actually creates explosive plays is the difficult targets and the stuff that other players can't do. So you have a guy that can do things other players can't do.
Yes.
Do those things.
He has such a relative advantage. So few players in the NFL can go out and win on the types of routes he wins consistently. Like he wins downfield when the team knows that that's the entire Jags game plan, and they were completely unable to stop him for like 8 games at the end of last year. And you see so few players who can be like, I don't know, this is what's called a 20-yard game every time. And he actually really is a mold breaker in that he's so physically gifted and he's so good at running routes for his size that I think he's one of the few players who you can channel these high ADOT targets to and expect them to be more consistent and more effective than most players. I don't mind him getting the easy stuff either, but I do get a little worried that like the style of ball that Liam Cohen had Baker Mayfield play was not a style you would say is conducive to Brian Thomas's style. Ultimately, I think Thomas is good enough to succeed no matter what he's asked to do. But I'm kind of with Pat. Like, let's make sure we keep the deep shots in there and lots of them. Let him cook.
Let him cook. Let him cook, folks. So Denny eviscerated, but any
with Thomas, we just have to hope Trevor Lawrence is better than Mac Jones, and I think he is.
Let's see here. Any players here? Jayden Daniels. Where did Jayden Daniels go?
Yeah, Jayden Daniels went QB3 overall.
Feels right.
I mean that I think last year he was the most like obvious late round quarterback ever, maybe, or since Lamar in 2019, I would say. Yeah,
it was since Lamar in 2019.
Yeah. And like Lamar in 2019 was like, why would I take anybody else? And that's how I felt about Jayden Daniels.
I did too.
He had a lull, obviously, in the season, in his rookie season, but came back strong in the final 4 or 5 weeks. Anyway, yeah, so you're going to have to look elsewhere for that late round rushing quarterback. I don't think we don't have one every year. I mean, last year was a kind of a special circumstance. I hope you took advantage of it because it's over. Like you're going to have to spend real draft capital to get Jayden Daniels.
Well, here, here's the best ball, bro. But what if it worked for us this time with Anthony Richardson? Because
I wrote up Richardson because he went in the final round, one of the last 5 picks in the draft. Producer Adam took him, I believe. And I thought that was a good selection because you're talking about a guy who averaged over 8 rushing attempts per game, who really turned it on rushing wise at the end of the season. And you don't leave that sort of production from a quarterback on the draft board. You just don't. And so he went in the 12th round. That's 8 rounds later than he went last summer. I'm in on that.
Yeah, he's gonna be a really interesting one because he's kind of like Kyle Pitts. Like every year he gets a little cheaper every year. So there's still like enough justification to take him. But yeah, the falling for it again is getting close.
Well, but if you fall for it and it doesn't work out as a 10th or 12th round pick, it's like, who cares?
Yeah, especially in redraft where you just cut them and add whatever pocket passer plays the bad defense. I think in best ball, it's a lot more risky because I don't really think he's starting the full 17. It's probably not happening. But in redraft, like, hell yeah, give him the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. And even if he struggles as a passer, which he probably will, he's going to get there as a runner. He's going to be the QB 9 in points per game or whatever in every game he starts. So yeah, I'm glad we talked ourselves back into Richardson. We needed to do this. We needed to get out of the way early.
So I was totally out as a 4th rounder. I'm all the way in as a 12th rounder. Go ahead.
I'm still totally out. We ordered everyone to draft a quarterback. In the 10th round, I did kind of a dumb flag plant where I basically took Ben Johnson. I took Caleb Williams in the 10th round. Took him over Bo Nix and Drake May. Would that be stupid?
You're fine.
Yeah, that was stupid, man. I saw that and thought, man, stupid.
No,
it's fine.
I think that works. I mean, I would think Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams could, like, in the range of outcomes, which is a phrase I use when I'm not sure what's going to happen. I would guess that in the range of outcomes includes a pretty cool season. Like,
I think it's a great sign. Sorry, Denny. Sorry.
I was just saying where Caleb can cook, where like he can be used in the proper way, where he can be, given a little more structure, and he has the pass catchers, I think, to be productive.
I know people have been making the correct point probably that head coaching candidates aren't really taking jobs based on the quarterback. It definitely plays into the consideration, but they're more concerned about like franchise stability and all that. Bears is not exactly a stable franchise. I think it's a pretty good sign for Caleb Williams that someone like Ben Johnson didn't even really like shop around. He just like took the Bears. He didn't really lead anyone else on.
Yeah.
Like he clearly wanted to work with Caleb Williams. And Denny, we've kind of talked about that. I still think my main takeaway, this could be a very dumb main takeaway on Caleb Williams' rookie year. My main takeaway is that he just like never missed a snap, that he got hit so many times. Like to me, that was one like
that's a classic hang the banner. Never missed a snap.
No, but seriously, like a guy with his playing style and like a guy like there's a weird zoomer where he was just like tough as nails. Like he proved like a lot, I felt, as a rookie from that perspective. Like the fact that he didn't like miss a snap, he might have missed a snap, but you know what I mean? It's like insane considering how many hits he took.
Yeah, he did,
especially how bad he played. Like you played like garbage.
Yeah, that too.
Look, I don't think he played well. I'm exaggerating it though.
Denny, any final thoughts on Bowers and McBride? Or are we going to move on to 4th downs?
Bowers. So McBride actually was more efficient per route than Bowers, if that matters. 2 touchdowns, like I said. And that was mostly, I think, a deficiency for Kyler Murray, who was really bad in the red zone this past season. And,
what a surprise.
And the year before.
And every year, after Kyler, by the way, he posted, I'm not even kidding. When I realized this, I was not surprised at all. This stat line in 2024 was identical to his rookie stat line in 2019. The guidance has not changed at all. So it was a decent stat line. He just came into the league like fully formed, like, this is who I am. Like,
yeah,
I ain't changing, dog. And,
yeah,
power to him. He's not changing.
I do want to emphasize though, Bowers did what he did without like being used as a red zone weapon at all, and that's pretty incredible. Like you would think, seeing how he finished in fantasy, you would think, oh, that's 12 touchdowns, and it wasn't. It was 5. So it's pretty good.
Pretty good. We'll talk about some fourth down decision making real quick when we come right back after this. Watch the biggest names in sports talk, including Mike Florio, Dan Patrick, Dan Lebitard, and Matthew Berry, as they cover the biggest moments on and off the field each weekday on the NBC Sports Now channel. It is available on Peacock and free on most streaming platforms. Learn more at NBCSports.com/now. Denny had the article up on coaches and their proclivity to go for it on fourth down. And let's start with the aggressors. Maybe some of the not surprising answers, maybe some of the surprising answers, and just some of your broader takeaways on the coaches who like to go for it on fourth down.
Yeah, Dan Campbell remains our analytics king, the most aggressive. Although, if you include the postseason, which maybe we should, Dan Quinn actually takes the title as the most aggressive fourth down decision maker, and it worked out quite well. Our own Zach Kruger pointed out the other day that Washington's 87% success rate on fourth downs, conversion rate, I should say, was the highest in NFL history. No team has ever come even close to that. Wow. And Jayden Daniels had the highest EPA per dropback on fourth downs. Just a machine. And so Washington really, really benefited from being aggressive. Here's to hoping they continue into 2025.
Just staggering for a rookie too, like the highest pressure snap, like where you're going to get like a lot of those complex looks, and like the game theory, the chess match, it's just like at its peak, and to just easily convert all of them. Basically.
Yeah, and a lot of them were on his shoulders too. Like, what was the one against the Bucks where it was 4th and 1 or 2, and he rolls to his right and just jukes a defensive tackle. He just willed himself into getting the first down, and the team was willing to put, maybe at that time it wasn't the game, but put a high amount of the success or lack thereof of the game on the rookie's shoulders. It wasn't like they were like, all right, between the tackles, Brian Robinson, bang it in for the first down. They were letting the rookie, we've said it a few times, they're letting him cook, and he was more than capable.
Denny, I was surprised to see Mike McDonald as one of our fourth down goats.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't be, though, from an analytics franchise in the Ravens, and tell the folks what Mike McDonald did on fourth downs.
That's a good point. So the Seahawks under Pete Carroll ranked 31st in fourth down aggressiveness from 2017 to 2023.
Thought you were going to say 33rd.
Right. Well, could be.
Well, you forget at this time there are only 30 teams. They've been expanded since, so he was one below last.
Yeah, it really could hardly be more conservative than Pete Carroll. So we had the opposite here. We had McDonald. The Seahawks were the sixth most aggressive team on fourth downs. They weren't good on fourth downs. They ranked 22nd in fourth down conversion rate at 53%. They also were bad on third down conversion rates, one of the worst in the league. So it might be a function,
Smith tweet.
It might be a function of our guy Gino, unfortunately.
Denny, some of the fourth down non-aggressors. I mean, none of them are really that surprising. I was still disappointed to see Mike McDaniel's name in here.
Yeah,
the sharpiness has never been faker with Mike McDaniel. Looks like
right. And so when I was looking into this, I was like, okay, you know what? Tua missed 5-6 games, whatever. I'm not going to hold this against him. I'm going to drill down into what he really did with Tua under center. And folks, it's the exact same thing. It didn't change at all. And this, despite Tua being top 10 in EPA on fourth downs, here's the issue. And I actually think this might be a play calling thing. The Dolphins were the worst rushing team on fourth downs. Okay.
Was not close.
And probably on every down.
They were pretty bad in all downs.
Yeah, also
fourth down was a special kind of bad.
Treating Devin Achane like DeMarco Murray. Work the 100th time you try it.
Right. So I actually think you can just point to the running game and be like, hey, that completely failed us on third and fourth downs. Actually, Tua was fine. You would like to see this guy be a little more aggressive. It doesn't make sense to me. I can't square it in my head. The fact that Mike McDaniel, who looks like an analytics nerd, is calling plays like Vince Lombardi.
I think you pointed the thing out. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I think even the more, so the through line for almost all of these teams is Dan Quinn and Dan Campbell were among the most aggressive. I believe the two most aggressive. they were the best at it. And then the teams that were the least aggressive, which were if I remember the article, the Packers, Chargers, Dolphins, and Steelers were kind of some of the teams you highlighted. 3 of those teams were 3 of the worst. They were all below average. Only the Chargers were actually good on fourth downs, but not aggressive. Like, these coaches, once they get rewarded for making a successful fourth down, are pretty willing to put their foot on the gas. And the moment they get punished for an aggressive mistake, they never go back to the well. They touch the hot stove once and they never go back, which is actually kind of why I'm optimistic that a team like the Seahawks will keep it up. They were one of the few teams that really didn't, like you said, they weren't that good on fourth down. If you're not that good at it and you keep doing it, and we know it's a good thing to do, I think it's a more philosophical approach. They just seem to understand that even if you're not that good at it, you should keep trying the aggressive fourth down approach. And the Chargers, on the other hand, were rewarded for the few times they actually tried. And they did not care. It did not change their philosophy.
I think that might have just been good coaching, Kyle, to be honest, because look at who they had to operate with on fourth down. You don't have a true go-to fourth down target till late in the year with Ladd McConkey. You had no one you could confidently trust to rush for a fourth down on the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, but they were successful when they did, is the thing.
I think it might have just been a good picking of their spots, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think when you're that good, though, you should try and find out where the equilibrium is. Be like, oh, we're only going to choose the best spots. I'm this poker hand. I only ever play when I get dealt aces. Dude, play ace king once. It's a good hand, actually. It's, of course, don't play every fourth down, right? You get dealt 2-3 not suited. Maybe this hand isn't yours.
Do you pre-flop raise on every pocket pair, by the way?
Oh, I don't. I would, yes.
Denny?
What was the question?
Do you pre-flop raise on every pocket pair that you get?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I
don't know. I don't know if that's right or not, but I do that. Yeah,
it's probably more right than it is wrong. But yeah, Denny's got pocket threes again, huh? Great.
I don't. The funny thing is, I've almost never played poker, and I watch so much poker content on YouTube.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love it.
That's very sicko Zoomer behavior, actually.
I had a phase. I had a phase during COVID where I would watch 3 hours straight of poker online.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you watching the Fox Sports Mid Atlantic or whatever? Because that's where they would show it nonstop.
And then one time, I swear to God, one time our buddy Pete Overzet was just on TV. He was Pete was on TV doing one of his bits, one of his characters.
Man. I'm sure it was the man. It was the man. He was a cult poker personality. I don't know, star maybe is over.
Yeah, and I'm like, hold up, what's going on here?
Oh, there's so much lore here. You guys have to get back to grinding YouTube or something. There's a lot.
You would play professional poker in person as a character,
as the man,
basically.
Oh my God.
I don't think he was known as a player. We're in a rabbit hole. I don't think he was known as a professional player. I believe he was a professional content creator with the sole focus of poker, though, as the man. Yes.
Pete Manzanelli.
Yes, correct.
Pete contains multitudes. Any non-aggressive fourth down guys you want to mention, Denny?
Matt LaFleur, man. I mean, between
that's him every year. I mean, who cares? Yeah.
I mean, between this guy, never throwing on first down, always punting. I mean, what's up with this guy? Come on, let it loose a little bit.
Yeah, it was sickening this year, but I will say the previous 4 years, which were 3 Rodgers, one of them sucked, but 3 Rodgers years and 1 Jordan Love year. In those 4 years total, he was the most aggressive coach on fourth down. There was a very stark change in how they played this year that maybe, I mean, Pat, as you pointed out, maybe it was all in an effort to protect Jordan Love, who was banged up with a ton of different injuries, but let him hand off. Josh Jacobs will get it. You can handle it. I'm sure you can. Even if it's not 4th and 7, let's expose Love to a big hit. Go for some of them. And they did not at all, as Denny points out, which is a stark contrast to how they had played for about 4 years in a row.
Really, really good stuff from our guys. The content's still going up on the site. We're going to have a lot during Super Bowl week. Denny Carter and myself will be coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. Some early guests lined up. We hope to talk to Nate Tice. We hope to talk to Kevin Clark. We hope to talk to many, many other people. It'll be a lot of fun guests. Kyle, we might talk to you.
I'd love that. Oh, wait, Pat, this is the perfect chance to do just randomly call me when you guys are doing a show.
That's true, actually.
For 18
we got to
months.
do it, yeah.
Let's get Kyle wound up on this one. So we're going to be in New Orleans. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have a lot of good stuff for you and some good stuff on the site, too. So for Denny and Kyle, I'm Pat. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back with you next week.